Morphin time! Yeah!
Several days after Jason's mother's funeral, Kimberly goes to visit him because he is very depressed and won't accept help from anyone. She brings him food and Jason receives it with no desire to receive visitors. When they are in the kitchen, she realizes that several people have already brought him food as well and Jason has a lot of clutter in his house. She offers to help him, but Jason insists that he is fine and doesn't need anyone's help. When she leaves Jason's house, Kimberly runs into Trini outside and they begin to have a chat. Kimberly thought Trini had come to help Jason, but she had actually just left since she also realized that Jason wants to be alone. The two begin to talk about how after they get to Earth, they must answer all their cell phone messages since they don't have that signal in space to receive messages and calls from Earth. Trini also tells Kimberly that she needs to go shopping since they don't have clothes for humans in space. After trying on a lot of clothes, Trini decides to wear something more daring and Kimberly is a little confused since she had not seen Trini with that style, but she tells her that in space she learned not to follow cultural fashions. Then, they both sit down to eat and start to have a little awkward conversation as Trini starts to tell her about some secrets. Kimberly was surprised as she couldn't believe that there were other Power Rangers now that she knew about Andros. Trini tells her that there are actually more things that they don't know and because of this Kimberly is very curious to know more about it. Trini begins to tell her about how everyone knows that Lord Draken had escaped from his cell and then returned to help with the Imperials, but that wasn't the first time he had actually returned. The first time he came back was when he killed Tommy and Rangers of all times and space came to defeat Draken. At that time, all the memories the Rangers had of that event were erased, but an emissary restored the Omega Rangers' memories and that is why Trini knows all of this. Kimberly gets a little confused and obsessed with all these secrets Trini told her and goes to the command center where Billy is repairing the Zords to ask him for a favor. She tells Billy that he was able to repair and upgrade the Green Ranger power coin, so maybe he can manage to upgrade the powers of the Power Rangers. Billy suspects that this request is because of something else so he asks Kimberly, and she replies that she talked to Trini about the future of the Power Rangers and found out that they are all replaceable. Billy starts to get interested in the situation and Kimberly tells him that the Rangers always put their lives at risk and need to increase their power to be prepared. Billy agrees to start working on something that will help them improve and is going to share the idea when he has something worthwhile. Kimberly goes to the GYM to train, but she is still very thoughtful about the whole thing. At that moment Tommy arrives and realizes that something is wrong with Kimberly. Even though he tries to talk about it, she doesn't feel like talking about all the bad things she is thinking. Even so, Tommy tells her that she doesn't have to go through all of this alone. At that moment, Kimberly receives an alert from Billy and Tommy decides to join her. The Rangers arrive at the command center to talk to Billy, and he tells them that he searched Zordon and Alpha's files so he wouldn't invent something that had already been made up and found something that can help them improve their powers. Billy's plan is to send the Rangers to a simulated pocket dimension where he can create fake villains so the Rangers can practice and use the new power. Kimberly and Tommy make their transformation and travel to the pocket universe Billy has prepared. Quickly, in this universe, you can find old villains, the Z-Putty Patrollers, which were the first soldiers that Rita used to confront the Power Rangers. Then, Billy introduces the most recent villains, the machines that Rocky and Matthew had to fight. The Rangers begin the battle and Billy tells them they can activate the new power to begin the test. The metal armor is the new power that the Rangers now have, which gives them more strength and power to continue battling. The Rangers begin to test their new power and realize that they can destroy enemies even with their bare hands. At that moment, Billy realizes that the new armor consumes a lot of power from the Morphin grid, but the problem with this new power is that the energy is very unstable. Because of this, Billy asks the Rangers to deactivate the new power, but Kimberly starts to really like the power and doesn't want to deactivate it. Tommy talks to Kimberly and tells her that they should deactivate the power and do what Billy says, but she still thinks she can control all that power. Billy clarifies to her that it's not about self-control, but that the new armor's power is volatile and that throws the Morphin grid out of control. The pocket dimension depends on the Morphin grid and it is very risky. At that moment, the communication with Billy is cut off and the Rangers try to connect again but are unsuccessful. They start to worry, so they decide they must get out of there but realize that nothing works. At that moment, a black hole opens in the sky which begins to destroy everything in the city, including buildings, roads, and even the enemies that were there for the Rangers to practice. The ground begins to break, and lava appears. Now it forms a kind of tornado that falls to earth and forms a giant sphere that begins to swallow everything around it. At that moment, a voice is heard coming out of the sphere, a voice of someone that many of us know, but that the Rangers of that time still do not know. From the sphere begin to come out several of the worst villains that have existed in the entire history of Power Rangers. Now we get to see Trakina, the villain from Lost Galaxy. Then there's Sledge, a villain we started seeing in Dino Charge E but was in several more seasons. We can also see the Black Lion Warrior from Jungle Fury. Then there is Void Queen from Dino Fury, and finally we can see one of the worst villains ever, Rancic from Time Force. Trini and Zack are shopping at Safe Haven for food with Journey, who has grown up quickly and is now a teenager. At this point in her adolescence she is in a rebellious and misbehaving phase. Because of this, she has many arguments with Zack and says she hates them both. At that moment, Archon and Kever arrive, who invite them to a dinner to celebrate life since they knew that Trini and Zack were at a funeral. At that moment, Kever meets Journey and the two show a mutual interest in each other. When Archon and Kever left, Zack wasn't too sure he wanted to go to the dinner, but Trini was the one who accepted the invitation since she realized Journey was interested in Kever. At that moment, we can see Vox's followers, who were hiding in the shadows keeping an eye on the Omega Rangers. These villains were destroying another planet, but they heard Omega's message and with that they knew their exact location. The Omega Rangers have Vox imprisoned, and that is why his followers were looking for the Omega Rangers, in order to free their boss. Now, Jason, Andros and Eleven are planning how they are going to look for the Astro Megaship since Eleven was able to find it with the help of the Zurichs they were holding prisoner and cooperated voluntarily after a short visit from Andros. Part of the mission is to evade an entire army, and Andros intends to do the mission alone, but Jason won't allow it and tells him that Rangers always help each other because if something goes wrong, then he will have support. At the house, Zack and Trini start an argument with Journey since now they are going to have to go out in search of the Astro Megaship and they are going to leave Journey alone, who is very angry because she can never go with them. He obviously explains to her that they can't take her since it's a war zone, plus he tells her to go to the dinner by herself, but not to hang out with Kever since he's a bad influence. This makes Journey very angry and again she and Zack start arguing. Journey starts to cry and says that one day she will wake up and she will be older than them and will not have been able to do anything with her life. She also wished they had never found her. On the Astro Megaship is the entire Zurich's army, and along with them is the Prime Minister and the Viceroy, who have the mission to dismantle the entire ship, but there is one room that they have not been able to open because of the high level of security. This room contains the biggest secrets of the ship, and the Viceroy says that Dark Spectre sent Darkonda to look for exactly what is inside that room. Just then one of the Zurichs arrives to tell the Viceroy that the Power Rangers have arrived. Outside the ship were Trini and Zack in their Omegazords, and Andros was in his Galaxy glider trying to invade the ship. At that point, the mission was to disable the shield generator so the Rangers could enter the ship, and Zack was able to complete the mission and remove the shields. Thanks to this, Jason and Yale were able to invade the ship and started fighting with all the Zurichs that were at the entrance. At Safe Haven, Journey and Kever went for a walk for a while, and Journey tells him about the argument he had with Zack and what he said about Kever. Despite this, Kever gives Journey good advice and tells her that for a while he was alone and did everything he wanted, but it's actually good to have several adults who care about you, ask if you ate and who you're going out with. Meanwhile, in the kitchen, Archon and 11 are preparing food and having a conversation about the different flavors of energy to charge 11. At that moment, 11 receives a shock from Vox's followers, who take advantage of the opportunity that the Rangers are out of the planet. Inside the Astro Megaship are Yale, Andros and Jason fighting with many Zurichs, and Jason tells Andros that even though he likes the black suit, he should do Morphin since that would be the help they need. Andros tells him that even though he can morph, he won't do it since he promised himself that when he fixes all that trouble that happened on his planet, then he will morph again. Jason respects his decision, but suddenly he realizes that Andros is gone. Now Jason and Yale have to face an army by themselves. Andros had gone to look for Zane, who was dead, and his body was in a box similar to the escape chamber where the Rangers found Journey. Andros opens the box and puts the gauntlet he found in the chest in Safe Haven's vault into his hand, and Zane is revived. In Safe Haven, Vox's followers want to enter that same vault to look for their boss there, but despite threatening Archon by telling him they are going to eat rotisserie chicken, he still won't give them access to the vault since the only one who can open it at that moment is 11, but they disabled him upon arrival. Kever and Journey are in hiding figuring out how they are going to help Archon, but Journey is too scared and Kever tells him they must go out and fight. On the other side, Trini and Zack are surrounded by many members of the Zurich's army. Jason and Yale can no longer continue fighting with so many soldiers, and when they are about to change the plans, someone hits very hard to all the Zurichs. Jason and Yale are very confused and all the Zurichs fall defeated. At that moment, Andros' voice is heard apologizing to Jason for abandoning them, but Andros doesn't come alone, he comes with his friend Zane. In this image we can see that Zane has teeth like a skull, which means that there is something inside him that is different. This is the awakening of the Death Ranger, the beginning of one of the most powerful Rangers in the history of the franchise. In the pocket dimension, which is damaged, and the Rangers no longer have communication with Billy, are Tommy and Kimberly, who are about to have a battle with Rancic and several other villains. The villains are a bit confused because they can't recognize the Rangers since they are not from their time, but they still want to take them down. Tommy and Kimberly are aware of this, so they begin a dialogue that they are going to have to fight. The battle begins and the Rangers quickly realize that these villains are very powerful. Tommy tries to attack, but they hit him so hard that he goes out flying. Kimberly shoots an arrow, but it is easily deflected. Then several villains attack Tommy at the same time. Kimberly tries to help him, but they also attack her. Rancic grabs Tommy by the neck and says this brings back memories. At that moment, Rancic hits Tommy so hard that he destroys all his armor and he is left lying on the ground while Kimberly is badly injured and can't do anything. Kimberly tries to save Tommy, so she holds him and starts to fly away, while the villains get a little desperate as they don't want to let her escape. But one of them says to let them go so they can hunt them down and it will be more fun. Kimberly is desperate and starts checking Tommy's pulse to see if he is still alive. Tommy is still alive, but he is badly wounded and can no longer fight. Just then the unexpected happens. The pink emissary appears and tells Kimberly that Tommy is only alive because of the awesome armor the Rangers have developed. Kimberly is confused as she thought there were only 3 emissaries. But the emissary tells her that their job is to exist beyond the known to monitor the Morphin grid for threats. Kimberly blames herself for everything that is happening as she thinks she pushed Billy and now the new armor has created instability in the grid. The emissary clarifies to her that even though the armor was unstable, what really caused those villains to arrive was her fear. Kimberly tells her that she is afraid because Trini told her that Tommy died in the events of the shattered grid and that the Rangers must be replaced by other Rangers. The emissary tells her that she has a little knowledge, but in reality, she has a lot of misconceptions, yet she blames herself because the emissaries thought that erasing the memories of the shattered grid events would help protect them from further disruption, but in reality the opposite happened. At that moment, the pink emissary puts her finger on Kimberly's forehead and gives her back all the memories of those events, including the entire battle and the Rangers she helped. With these memories back in her mind, Kimberly realizes that they are not going to replace them, but that it is natural causes of their own that bring about the retirement of each Ranger. She is very remorseful, and the pink emissary tells her that now that she is closer to the pink specter, she can use that to defeat the villains of that dimension. After this, Kimberly seeks out the villains and they are shocked and think she just wants a quick end. But what they don't know is that now she has a greater power, the power of knowledge. Suddenly, Kimberly raises her arms and begins to raise the pink power. With this power, all the pink rangers of the story appear, guided by Kimberly saying that it's Morphin time. All the rangers do Morphin, and Kimberly tells them that they are going to show the villains what awaits them in the future. All the pink rangers start attacking all the villains, forming a big team, which is winning the battle. In this battle we can see all the pink rangers of the story, including Dino Fury's Pink Ranger. Now several rangers use their blasters to attack Rancic heavily, and Kimberly continues to lead the team and gives the order to surround the villains to finish them off. Kimberly gives the order, and all the rangers start attacking at the same time, causing a big explosion and the destruction of all the villains. After this attack, all the villains begin to disappear, but the pink rangers are also disappearing, and Kimberly says goodbye to them. At that moment, Billy's voice starts to be heard, who is still trying to communicate with the rangers. Now Kimberly and Tommy return to the command center and Billy starts to apologize for the whole situation, but Kimberly tells him that it's all her fault. Billy checks on Tommy and says that everything is fine, but now he's going to leave the armor development to Zordon and Alpha. Billy asks Kimberly about what happened in the other dimension, and she tells him she got some perspective. Now Kimberly and Tommy sit outside the command center at sunset and start talking about the situation that was going on with Kimberly. She apologizes to Tommy as she feels guilty because he almost got killed in that other dimension, but Tommy tells her that a lot of things happened that she couldn't have prevented it. Kimberly tells him that she was able to meet other rangers and they were all cool. She was able to see a future where they were no longer Power Rangers and had stopped being Power Rangers by choice. She also tells him that even though she doesn't want to retire now, still, she should start considering other things in life, maybe travel the world, and tells Tommy that maybe he can go with her. Tommy tells her that he is afraid to give up the power of the Rangers as he doesn't want to become Draken, but she tells him that he is never going to become Draken. Kimberly also tells him that today he learned that they should worry less about the future and worry more about the present. Kimberly and Tommy enter the command center and are met with the surprise that the other Rangers were all gathered together. Rocky tells Kimberly that because of the situation she was going through and that they know now that they are not the only Rangers, that they should have a name for their group, and maybe this will give her some encouragement. Kimberly thanks them all but tells them that she already overcame her crisis and now she just wants to help as many people as she can while it is her turn to be a Ranger. Now the Rangers are off to the juice bar, and we get to see all the names the Rangers wrote down. On the Astro megaship, Jason, Yale and Andros are still on the ship with supposedly Zane, although in reality this is no longer the real Zane, but another being that took over his body. Jason is very confused as he does not know who this person is and feels that something is not right. Zane calls Jason by name and tells him that he will understand everything in due time, but that he has seen his life and his death. He has also seen his mother, and if Jason follows him then he will show him much more. Andros and Zane begin to power up the ship, while Jason tries to communicate with the other Omega Rangers, who were desperate to hear from Jason. Zack and Trini realize that the Astro Megaship is preparing its weapons to fire, and Jason inside realizes that Andros and Zane were ready to fire. Zane presses the button and fires all the weapons to explode the Zurich ship and destroys everything there. Jason can't believe it, and Zane confesses to him that they are not going to Safe Haven, they are going to KO 35. In Safe Haven, Journey and Kever are in the weapons room looking for some things to fight Vox's followers. Kever has doubts and doesn't know if Journey knows how to fight, but she tells him that Trini and Zack taught her some moves. Kever then tries to attack her to know her reflexes, but Journey defends herself very well and throws him to the ground. Vox's followers try to break the vault door to get their boss out of there. While Archon is on the floor, he tells the leader of the followers that they traveled just to get Vox's psycho out. The leader beats him and tells him who Vox really is, that he was touched by the energy of the Morphin grid in the events of the Shattered Grid, and from that moment he started to save his world, which was led by corrupt politicians. At that moment, Journey and Kever enter to start attacking Vox's followers and help their friend Archon. At first, the leader of the followers thought they were the Rangers, but Archon feels sorry for the leader since he knows that Journey and Kever are more rebellious. In space, Trini and Zack are following the Astro Megaship and trying to communicate with Jason, but they are unable to do so. They don't know where they are going either and are very desperate and confused. Inside the ship, Jason is very angry because they should not have blown up that ship. He begins to have an argument with Zane, and in the end, Jason demands him to answer who he really is. This being replies that he is just now Zane from KO 35, but before that he was Spark the Gold Omega Ranger. Jason had never heard of a Gold Omega Ranger, and Andros tries to tell him that when he became a Ranger, he started hearing a lot of stories about the ancient Omega Rangers and the Gold Omega Ranger who conquered death. Jason is very angry as Andros manipulated them to get to the vault and release this supposed Ranger when he was on Earth at his mother's funeral. Andros tells him it was the only way to get Zane and his people back. Then Zane starts telling him the whole plan. They have to resurrect the people of KO 35 and then take down the Zurichs and Dark Spectre. They will then travel all over the galaxy to resurrect everyone who was wronged and finally bring justice. Jason tries to convince Andros that all of that is wrong and tells him that he understands what it's like to lose the people you love, that all of that is not justice, that all of that is revenge. Even so, Andros still thinks that he deserves to have his revenge, but Jason keeps trying to convince him that, despite feeling a lot of pain for the loss, a lot of innocent lives are really going to be lost in the process. He also tries to explain to him that he would give anything to get his mother back, but if that thing possessing Zane's body were to bring her back, then she wouldn't be the same. Finally, he tells her that he is using it to At that moment, the unexpected happens. Jason is pierced with a sword in the chest by the being that possesses Zane's body. Now, Andros is very scared and can't believe what is happening, but Zane tells him that Jason won't be dead for long. Then, Zane's voice changes and it is the voice of this shadowy being saying that Andros wanted his friend back and he requires a more powerful body. Then, Zane takes off the gauntlet and puts it on Jason, while telling Andros that he should not regret the death as they are fighting for the soul of the galaxy itself and need soldiers. After this they also take Yale's life to make him just another soldier of this shadowy being. In Safe Haven, Journey and Kever are still fighting with Vox's followers and are winning the battle, but then the leader realizes that there is no one else with them to fight, so he starts trying to hit Kever and breaks his weapon. When he is about to hit Kever, Journey saves him by giving the leader of the followers a terrible kick. The leader is very confident and thinks Journey is no match for him, but she dodges all the blows, raises her weapon with a lot of power and makes a tremendous energy blast. Archon and Kever are surprised because now we can see Journey bigger and they don't know how old she is now. In space, Trini and Zack arrive at KO 35. Their Omegazords don't have much energy anymore, but they must land on the planet since they know that the Astro Megaship is there and everyone knows that they already arrived too. On the planet we can see Andros and Zane talking about the planet and everything that is happening. Zane thinks everything is beautiful, but Andros tells him that all of this is not right since they were supposed to drive away the horrors, not bring new horrors to the planet. Zane tells him that everything is not exactly as they imagined, but thanks to him the whole planet is about to live again. At that moment, Trini and Zack arrive. They start asking about Jason and Yale. They also ask Andros about Zane since they had never seen him before. Now something impressive happens. All the dead people on the planet start to resurrect and look like alien zombies. Trini and Zack decide to go back to the Omegazords, but the Death Ranger in Jason's body tells him that he won't allow it. At that moment, Jason and Yale start attacking Trini and Zack and they still can't understand what is happening. The battle begins and the Death Ranger says that Jason and Yale are at his service and soon they will be too. Then, Zane hits Zack in the back and Yale takes advantage of the moment to attack him. Jason and Trini are also still fighting, and the Death Ranger speaks through Jason's body telling Trini that he got tired of seeing them disgrace the Omega Ranger's name and they have allowed too many things. Meanwhile, Andros continues to see everything that is happening and feels very sorry. Then Eleven's voice is heard trying to communicate with Andros. Then 11 opens the portal and Andros tells him that when he enters, he should close it quickly. Andros enters through the portal and Zane tells Jason that they knew Andros wouldn't have the strength to do all this. Then in Safe Haven we can see Andros enter through the portal and quickly yell at 11 to close the portal. Everyone in Safe Haven is confused and asking about the Omega Rangers. Andros is very remorseful and doesn't know if the Omega Rangers are still alive. Then, on Earth in the new command center we can see Tommy and Billy talking about what happened with Kimberly and the Pink Emissary. They are discussing the possibility that there are more emissaries, one for each ranger, and Billy says that maybe there is a white emissary or maybe all the emissaries are Tommy since the white light is the combination of all the colors. At that moment, Andros, 11, Kever and Journey arrive to ask for help from the Rangers telling them that the universe is in danger.